All right, let's go. All right, Tim, what are we going to talk about?
Well, what everybody's talking about, Dad, what'd you think of the Four Nations Cup and last night, Canada-US? That was something.
Yeah, there's never been 3 fights in NHL this year.
No. There was 3 fights in 19 seconds.
Yeah.
You and I were talking. Do you think that might have thrown Canada off a little bit?
I think it threw them off a bit. I do. They had that planned.
Yeah, the U.S. Yeah,
they had that planned right off the bat. Fight right off the bat threw Canada off.
Yeah.
Well, didn't make any difference anyhow.
So the big question now, Dad, is Binnington. What do you do with him?
Well, you got to come back with Binnington now.
You think so?
Yeah, but I would come back with him.
Yeah.
Give him a chance for redemption.
I think not that I'm a coach or anything, but I would have thought Cooper would have come back with Aiden Hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He won a Stanley Cup. It's not like he's a Stanley Cup. He's a big time guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever played the best, that first goal, U.S. goal, just sucked the air right out of Canada.
Yeah, you could just see the whole bench go down.
Well, you always used to say in Colorado how well the Rockies would be playing, then Hardy let in a goal. You could just see the bench just
die. Well, they have to beat the Finns now. Canadians have to beat the Finns now.
The thing we were talking about last night too was Dad was saying you hate to be picking on Binnington, but you were saying every shot you hold your breath.
Yeah. And
with Hellebuyck, you expect him to stop everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really do expect him to stop every shot.
Right.
Oh, and the goal holy Dinah, what a goal that was.
Yeah, McDavid, holy smokes.
If he could just get in there a couple more times.
Yeah, but I mean, like we were talking, Dylan, it's going into the third period. You said you got to get at least 2 goals on Hellebuyck.
It's not an easy feat.
Not an easy feat, especially with that defense, because he doesn't give up many rebounds.
And they just flip it out.
Yeah, you were right, Dad. Last night, you said watch them flip it out. They did that in the third period, I bet you 10 times.
Yeah, just flip it out. Doesn't go for icing.
So a couple other things, Dad. The one thing out of this that, everybody's saying how good the pace of this stuff is.
Yeah.
Pace and everything. But you know why, Dal?
Yeah, why?
It's because, you got the best and best, but the refs aren't calling a lot of penalties.
Letting them play.
They're letting them play. Like, there are less whistles in these games because of the refs.
That's why it's such good hockey.
Right. So then the referees are told to do.
Yes.
So you believe they are? They're told to do.
They're told. They get a feel. The referees get a feel.
So the referees get a feel. Let them play, and then if it's the Sharks and the Predators, call a lot of penalties.
Yeah. So the games are 3 hours long. That's enough about that.
Yeah. So
all they have to do is beat the Finns.
Beat the Finns, and then they'll play the U.S. and get for some redemption in Boston.
Yeah. Rematch on Thursday.
They should be primed for that.
Yeah. So before we go to some of the questions, Dad, I want to ask you. I was funny. You told the story before, but I asked you. I said, when you guys played, did you guys chirp at each other very much? Like say stuff to each other?
Not too much. I remember Larry Zeidel and Bo Ellick, and Bo Ellick would get the puck at the over the red line and go chase it, Larry, go chase it. I said, is this guy nuts?
So he was chirping at him, right?
He was chirping at him.
Ugh.
I said, is this guy nuts? I said.
So Bo Ellick kept chirping him and dumping the puck in.
He kept dumping the puck in. And I said, is this guy nut? I went to Sean Morrison. I said, this guy.
The Rock was a little crazy.
He was crazy. And boy, oh boy, did he ever. He says, you go chase it, Larry.
So what do you do to him?
Oh, you should have seen his face.
You spear him?
Yeah, I speared him right in the face. I would never spear a guy in the face.
So if you chirped, you better be careful.
Better be careful.
Back then.
Back then, if you chirp, you're going to get it. That was one guy that I remember him chirping at.
I remember a couple of chirps. I remember one time you were saying in Philadelphia and Boston in the playoffs, and it was getting pretty rough. And Bobby Clark said, come on, guys, come on, Schmutzy. Somebody's going to get hurt out here.
And I could just hear the voice. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, it ain't going to be me.
Getting back to the referees here, how come they don't referee like that in the NHL?
I don't know. I really don't know. And the games are 3 hours long, and the penalties they call. I don't know. I have no idea why they don't.
So, but you think, like we got back to it, you think they're told to call a lot of penalties?
I think they're told.
Yeah.
I think they're told.
Because I remember, like, when you and I used to go out scouting, and the reason it was so fun watching the games was because the referees just let the kids play most of the time,
Yeah.
right? And you get a good flow. And then you go home and you watch a Leaf game, and it'd be like, the first 5 minutes, there's going to be a penalty.
Yeah. All right, from Black and Gold Pen. Hey, Don, Crosby had 3 assists in Game 1, so there should be no question if he should be on Canada's team for the next Olympics.
Well, I agree there. I agree that he should be on the team next year. 3 assists, that probably lead the team.
Yeah, because they'll be on the Olympics for next year in Italy, so...
So I agree that he should be on the team next year.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Yeah, sometimes Hockey Canada might try to overthink it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be always like a senior player, and who can be the best leader out there. And
Yeah.
you can't get any better than Crosby, right?
Yeah, and he's still going strong. It was funny. We were talking about this today, where they're saying Sidney Crosby made a mistake and coughed up the puck. He's going, Binnington lets in a shit goal from about halfway inside the blue line, and they're blaming me.
Yeah.
But he does. He says, "Oh no, I shouldn't have done it." But he's probably looking, "Holy crap, that's my fault. That's my fault."
He was at the bench.
He was at the bench. He goes, "It was just a shot on net."
Yeah. From Robbie Y. Hey, Grapes, how come superstars don't seem to make good coaches?
Well,
not just in hockey, but in every sport.
It seems as if they go into a world of their own. And McDavid won't make a good coach either. As great as he is, he won't make a great coach because they go into a world of their own.
Yeah, you always were saying about Eddie Shore, who when he played was one of the greats. He expected you to be able to do what he did.
Yeah, and everybody, and a 2-on-1. He had a 2-on-1 he had going at the puck. Yeah, and we used to go along with all this stuff and everything, and everybody used to practice 2-on-1. He used to stay in the middle.
But was he as good skater as everybody said?
Oh, he was the dynamite skater.
Was it true he took his laces off?
He took his laces off and he skated. I mean, he could do things that.
Well, and especially back then, because it's not like a boot. It was just like basically a Converse running shoe with blades on it, right?
And he used to have us do a drill. I could do it to the left. I couldn't do it to the right.
But he expected you to be able to do everything.
He expected us to do everything.
A guy like Bobby Orr, like he would say, just get the puck and go with it, right?
Like, you can't do that? Why can't you do that?
Yeah, and Bobby Orr would get the puck and he'd go through the whole team and put it right in the net top corner.
Right, so he would want his guys to do that.
Yeah, and he'd want guys to do the same thing, and it never happened.
But it's not just hockey; it's like basketball and
football.
Yeah,
and they never make good coaches.
From Jeff Walker, should the Leafs keep Reeves?
I agree. They got him. They put him on the fourth line and keep everything honest out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Leafs are going to have to go through Florida probably in the playoffs.
Boy.
And Florida, you know what? They kind of knocked Boston around and they knocked the Leafs around a little bit.
They have a tough team.
Yeah.
They have a tough team.
And dirty.
And dirty, too.
Yeah.
which is that's why they win the Stanley Cup.
Which is fun to watch.
Right. Well, for the last 2 years, I think the last 2 years, they led the playoffs in hits by far.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a guy in there that's going to be able to, could
Take
chuck
the
someone.
hits.
Give it back a bit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Leafs on that don't like hits.
No, like I know I'm picking on a lot of the guys, but picking on Marner, he was invisible last night.
Yeah.
And he's playing with McDavid and
Best of the best.
and I know he got the overtime winner against the Swedes, but it was just a shot
Come
at
out
net.
of nowhere.
Yeah, but I don't know. So I'll ask you, Dad. We talked about thing. If Marner doesn't do anything in the playoffs this year, let's say they go the second round and he doesn't do very well, should the Leafs sign him for big dough?
I would not. I would be careful to sign him for big dough. He won over $14 million.
Yeah, and the cap's going up, so you might be able to get that.
The room might be there.
But the question is, great for the regular season, but come April,
There's nowhere to be seen.
And Hellebuck too.
yeah, same thing. Yeah,
I don't understand that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the
not
difference?
bad. He's terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then last night, as you said, Dad, the Leafs. You said last night, Team Canada could add 100 shots and they weren't going to score on him.
Yeah, they would never score a goal on him with 200 shots.
Yeah.
It didn't make any difference.
From DM Flyers 32. Hey, Don. When you went out scouting with Tim, do you remember an 03 defenseman on the Don Mills Flyers named Brant Clark? He's in LA now. Should the Leafs try and trade one of their young prospects for him, seeing that the Leafs have no good real defensemen?
I remember this guy, and I said, how kind of guy spell his name? Brant.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I remember about him.
Yeah.
And he was a good hockey player.
Well, he was. I'd have to say there wasn't too many better defensemen at that age than him.
He was pretty good.
He was good, and he was, especially when his team was down. Like he was kind of like Darnell Nurse. He was really good, but when his team was down, when the Don Mills both played for Don Mills, surprisingly, when they were down, look out. They would go, and he'd go.
He'd get the puck and he'd go through the whole team.
Right. So, but there's no way LA would make that trade.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
That he's got the. He's got the opportunity to maybe win a Norris someday.
Okay, 67's red and white. Hey, Don. I know you played with Brian Kilrea in Springfields and have a lot of battle with Eddie Shore. I'm a big 67's fan and watched Brian behind Ottawa's bench for a long time. When you played with Brian, did you know he was going to be a good coach?
Well, he was always to be the captain on every team he was on. Sort of knew that he would, but he didn't want to coach. He was forced to.
Do you ever run a practice?
No. He never ran a practice. And when he ran a practice, it wasn't like Al Arbor. Al Arbor would turn it on twice as hard.
You could tell he was going to be a good coach.
He was going to be a good coach.
Yeah, he was smart. He's one of those guys. Well, funny, he wanted to play. He played in LA, but he wanted to go back to Springfield.
He's the only guy that wanted to go back to Springfield, and I couldn't understand it.
Yeah, made the National Hockey League. Scored the first goal for the LA Kings.
And he wanted to go back to Springfield.
Yeah. The thing I remember about Brian. So Brian, greatest coach in junior hockey, most wins, Memorial Cups, coached everything, and you coached him with the prospect games. So people in the States that know what a prospect game is, it was like all the kids that were going to get drafted that year, they played kind of an exhibition game, but it wasn't an exhibition game. It was like the game last night.
Yeah.
Lots of hitting. And Brian would stand, Brian would run the practices, and he'd stand at center ice, and these kids would go whizzing by him, and I'm thinking, he had no fear that these kids were going to run into him.
And if somebody did run into him, he just pushed them aside.
Yeah.
I said, Brian, don't you worry about the center ice? No, I says, they won't hit me.
And these kids, The kids are big, and they're just and they're going full tilt because all the NHL scouts are watching them, right?
Yeah.
And like you could see, like his hair's blowing in the wind and his jacket's blowing.
Standing in the middle of traffic.
Oh,
Basically.
it was crazy. He was hard on the kids.
Was he?
He was hard. What was the first one? He wanted you to bench a guy because he stayed on too long.
Oh, who was that
Danny
guy?
Briere, I think it was.
Yeah.
The GM of the Flyers. He stayed on. He was, because he was wanting to get out there, right? Brian just went nuts.
Bench him. I said, bench him? How do you bench him? We didn't bench him.
Bench him, but he went over. He's you little selfish little when you get off because you let the next kid on.
I remember it was the very first game.
Very first game, yeah, and at
And he wanted
Maple
me to
Leaf.
bench him.
bench him, yeah. He commanded the room, boy.
Boy, yeah. You could just see he was going to be a good coach.
Yeah, and then you and him after those prospect games.
Oh, boy.
You'd always, holy smokes, the sessions you guys would go in,
I never, I had to speak all the time.
right.
I had to speak, and boy, I was just sweating. Just,
You always had a hangover.
I always had a hangover.
I remember the worst was in you and Brian in Halifax.
Yeah,
It was before, night before. It wasn't before the game. It was before the first practice, and you and Bert and Brian and
Bert didn't. He didn't.
Dougie Wilson was in there, and I left at like 3 a.m. and Dougie Wilson I think he left about 4.
Yeah.
And then you didn't have to do it. Like you had to speak later that afternoon,
Yeah.
but Brian had to get up. So at 7 a.m, he's sitting outside and it's freezing cold, but you could just see he felt good. Boy, did he have a hangover, smoking his big cigar.
And smoking a big cigar. He never smoked a cigar when I was around.
No, he didn't like it. But then I remember you had to get up and speak.
I had to get up and speak, and the sweat was just pouring off me. Brian and I had a lot of fun at those games, but I could never keep up to him in the drinking. I could when I was playing.
I never go to the bathroom.
No?
No, it was like a contest. Who was going to go to the bathroom first?
Yeah.
Can't break the seal. Then
No.
you're done for it.
No, you guys had a lot of fun then, though.
We did. We had a lot of fun.